Look, I like a chicken noodle soup as much as the next guy, but if there is a king of chicken soups, I think it's this one. Today we're making pozole, which is a Mexican soup with so much flavor. You get tons of depth of flavor from sauteing down peppers, onions, in addition to spices like coriander and cumin. You then stew chicken down and peel it, add it to the soup along with hominy. Whether you make this soup rojo, verde, or blanco, what makes a pozole is the use of hominy, which are dried corn kernels. And honestly, I guess the name is synonymous. Pozole and hominy means the same thing. I don't know, still a little hazy on that detail. For the soup, they are soaked overnight, strained out, and then boiled until they're soft. And once you cook them, they have this really kind of nice nutty flavor. I'm honestly kind of addicted to eating them. Anyway, like I was saying earlier, there are different variations of pozole that can be made. However, for some reason, I always seem to prefer the green version of the dish. So that's what we're gonna do. As with almost any soup, it's all about building up the flavors. So we're gonna start with roasting some peppers. I actually don't know what that guy was talking about because I need to talk about pozole first. So you'll likely find two variations of pozole. One is gonna be dried or one is gonna be already cooked and in the can. In my case, I had dried pozole, so I soaked them overnight and they filled up with water. Now I'm straining them off and then they need to be cooked in water. So you just bring it to a boil, then turn it down to a simmer and let that cook for about 90 minutes. And then you're gonna set those out of the way because we won't be using again until we add them to the final soup. Now let's get to those peppers. So I'm using poblanos, jalapenos, and I also decided to throw in one ghost pepper. So ghost pepper is really hot, completely optional, but I had some and I thought, you know, why not try it out? So all I'm doing is cutting these peppers in half, and then I'm gonna put them all onto a baking sheet, and we're actually just gonna put these under the broiler for 5 minutes. So after 5 minutes, these have just blackened up beautifully, and you're just gonna set them off to the side for 5 to 10 minutes, let cool, and meanwhile you can cut up some of the other vegetables. So first up I have an onion, which I'm just gonna finely cut up, and you want it pretty fine because all of these vegetables are gonna be added into a mix, basically a sofrito, that we're gonna cook down in oil, and if everything's finely chopped up, it helps it cook down so much more nicely. Then for the garlic, I'm just using my garlic press, and if you have a sturdy stainless steel one like this, you can actually just put it in with the peel and it'll come out pretty cleanly. Before we get back to the peppers, we're gonna cut up some tomatillos. So these are some frozen ones that I had from back in the summer, but if you do have fresh ones, you can actually roast them with the peppers, or you can just slice them in this stage, just like I'm doing. Then as with all the other vegetables, we're just gonna add that to our sofrito mix, and now we can start chopping up those peppers. So what I like to do is just chop the top off and then pull off some of that skin and then finally mince these up, you know, roughly about the same size as everything else. And then as you are working with the ghost pepper, if you want to use gloves, go ahead. If not, just make sure you wash your hands right after. Don't touch your face or anything like that, or else you'll be in for a little bit of pain. Once all the peppers are chopped up, I just added those to our sofrito, and now we just have this beautiful bounty of vegetables that are going to provide so much flavor to this soup. With all the vegetables out of the way, now we can break down our chicken, which I'm gonna do by just cutting it all the joints. So first up is the legs, so just separate the leg into the leg and thigh, and then we're gonna do the same thing with the other side. And then as you're cutting through this, just really look for the joints in between the bones. You don't really need to chop through any bones until we get to the backbone. For the backbone, you can use a cleaver or kitchen shears and just remove it. And then now we have the breast. For the breast, I literally just chop the whole thing in half, and then I chop it in half again, giving us 2 nice pieces of breast meat, 2 wings, 2 legs, and 2 thighs. With the chicken broken down, I like to dry the surface, just blot it with a paper towel. It's gonna help it brown a little bit easier, and then we're gonna come in with some salt and pepper for seasoning, and don't skimp on the salt or pepper here. With the chicken seasoned, we're just gonna quickly brown it by putting some vegetable oil in a Dutch oven, and then you're going to brown your chicken pieces. You wanna get it nice and brown and crispy on those edges. Don't worry about it cooking through, that's not what we're looking to do at this point. Move your chicken over to the plate, and now we're gonna pour in that sofrito vegetable mix right into the pot, scrape all those little crispy chicken bits, it's called the fond, and now we can add our spices. I've got some cumin, coriander, and some smoked ghost pepper powder. The smoked ghost pepper powder completely optional though. And you're gonna wanna put this on low heat and just let it cook really low and slow, really develop that kind of caramelizing flavor. You know, just take the time to catch up on some Netflix, or if you're like me, had to catch up on Star Wars before watching Rise of Skywalker. Pretty good, by the way. But after 30 minutes, you can just see all those deep caramelizing brown colors in here. There is so much flavor in this, and the aromas are just amazing. Now to build our soup, we need to come in with some stock. So this is some turkey stock that we had frozen from Thanksgiving, but you could just use chicken stock or beef stock, whatever you feel like. And then you just want to toss in your chicken pieces and nestle them into the pot. Bring your soup up to a nice bubble and let this cook for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then you're gonna pull the chicken out and shred it into nice pieces that we can add back to our soup. Make sure you taste some at this point too. Once all this chicken's shredded, we're just gonna add it back to our soup in addition to that hominy from earlier. So since I'm dried, I'm just adding mine in, but if you had cans, you would just add in the cans straight into the soup. And the basics of our pozole are really done, but there's two more very important things we have to do. Number one is taste and season. This should be done for all soups at the very end of the process. Give your soup a taste. Does it need a little bit of salt? Go ahead and add it. Number two is gather your fresh toppings. No pozole is complete without fresh toppings. You can do things like sliced jalapenos, some very finely minced radishes, cilantro, pepitas, which are pumpkin seeds. The options are really endless. For me, I like a lot of stuff, so I'm adding in those radishes, a nice handful of cilantro, a couple of those jalapeno slices, gotta add some pepitas for a little bit of crunch, and then finally toss that off with a squeeze of lime. So that is how you make one of my favorite soups in the world, Posole Verde. If you have a day off over the holidays, definitely take advantage and make this soup. I promise you will not be disappointed. Full recipe will be up on my website, but that's gonna wrap it up for me. I will catch you in the next video.